depending where in the world and at what time you're watching this episode. My name is Patrick Henz, and it's another solo episode. As normally, Ganna Pogrevna and I do this jointly, but today, just me. I have the pleasure to discuss with you Dome Formula One, and it's really a pleasure because earlier this year I had the opportunity to travel a little bit to Japan, and I'm fascinated about the culture and also its business culture, the way Japanese companies are working, taking decisions, etc., etc. So for this, a quite Japanese episode, and domo arigato to the whole team of Dome, because they allowed me to use a lot of their images. So I hope you will join this. And also, we discussed this in earlier episodes, becoming champion independent as a constructor or as a driver. It takes a combination of being prepared, but also being at the right time, at the right place, meaning having the luck that everything works out. And this also applies for the smaller teams if they manage to come into Formula One. It requires technical, organizational preparation, but also there are outside factors which you unfortunately cannot influence. This can be the actual management of Formula One. For example, we are in 2024, so you see the topic if Andretti could or could not join Formula One as one additional team. Right at the moment, it still seems that they cannot because the actual management thinks Andretti, together with Cadillac engines, would not provide an additional benefit for the fans. And similar, also we had earlier in the 1990s when Dome was planning to come into Formula One, as there are, for example, other economical factors, as economic situation, having sponsors, and so on and so on. So if you make it into Formula One, is a great achievement. And if it does not work out until the moment, this does not mean that this is a failure, but you know you have to aim to the stars to reach the moon, for example, and Dome in other leagues, championships, really have been proven that they can be successful. They have their titles. So it is a successful team which exists up today. So we'll come to this at the end of the episode. If you're interested in this small Japanese team, visit their websites, the company, including a great place about the Dome Museum, so showing all their street and race cars, and they really put a lot of effort in this, so highly recommended. But let's dive a little bit deeper into the topic. A short history for the beginning. We are going back to the 1960s to 65. The brothers Minoru and Soichi Hayashi built their first racing car. The one you see here on the right, 1965 Karasur. It's mostly based, and you can see it a little bit, I think, on the Honda S600. Then 10 years later, they founded their company, which is called Dome, and this means child's dream. And this reminds me, of course, I might say, to Honda, which is known in Japan as the dream company, because their founder always underlined that Honda is a dream, was his dream, and it's a little bit the corporate philosophy that they want to include their employees into the dream, meaning they want to give them the opportunity with working at Honda to fulfill their dream, which could be, of course, their technical dreams, but also their family dreams, as you can step up in the Honda organization, and of course they offer attractive salaries. So, and as you can see, the first cars by the brothers Minoru and Soichi had been based on a Honda, so you may say it's a little bit a child of Honda. So the name Dome, child's dream, maybe related to the brothers themselves, as they had this dream since childhood, but also the relation to Honda. I think it's a very fitting name. Already 3 years after, they had their first Formula 3 car. We are talking here about Japanese Formula 3, the one you see on the right. In 81, Hayashi Racing was the All Japan F3 Championship with this car. Then we jump to 87. Dome entered the Japanese Formula 3000 series using a March chassis. And 94, Hayashi Racing won the championship with their own F103 chassis. So this is a little bit early history, 65 to 94. As I've said, Dome still exists today, but the focus will be, of course, more how we came to the Formula One project. Dome's vision had been to produce sports cars based on gained knowledge from auto racing. A similar idea than many other companies had. For example, Honda, again, to come back to them, they first had motorcycles, then they developed their race cars, and practically the race car project started before the street cars. So a little bit the other way Dome is going. The 1978 Dome Zero should have been the company's first production car, but did not receive approval by Japanese regulatory bodies. And this Dome Zero is maybe the reason why Dome may be familiar with you. It's a very small company, so normally you would not know it automatically outside the country, but many gamers know it because the Dome Zero is part of the Gran Turismo series at the PlayStation, meaning if you have the PlayStation, most likely you have any of the Gran Turismo titles 1 to 7 or 1 to 8 now, and there we have this futuristic car. So you see here on the right, it's the Dome Zero, the original version. There later was an updated version 2. It's from 1978, and of course, it perfectly aligns to the wedge designs, which we had mostly since early 1970s in Japan. And in Italy, we already had it a little bit earlier, 68 with the Alfa Romeo Parabo with Ferrari, and also with the Lancia Stratos Zero. As mentioned, the Dome Zero you may know from PlayStation, so I'll show you a little bit of myself driving the car here from above, and now a little bit from nearby. Today you would call it maybe a retro futurism, something reminds you to Blade Runner, but it's really, it aligns with wedge design from 1960s, 70s, all over the world. First in Italy, Japan also had a higher number of such prototype from Toyota, also from Nissan. I'm not sure if Honda also had one, but I mean, this red Dome Zero also includes, of course, materials from the different street cars, Honda, Toyota, etc. And this is how it was done back in the times that these futuristic prototypes or super sports cars, they used a lot of components which you know from the daily street cars, because it would have been too expensive to develop all for these small companies and these cars which have a smaller number of production. So here a comparison, the Dome Zero with the 1970 Lancia Strato Zero. It's, I think, quite logical, the comparison, also because of the name Zero, and I think a little bit similar the design, the Lancia Strato Zero by Bertone. I had the opportunity to see this car in person here in Atlanta at the Museum of Modern Art. So it is, yes, a car, a prototype, but it's really also a piece of art. And I would say this is valid for both of these designs. The dome a little bit more straight, while the Lancia Strato Zero a little bit more curvy if you compare them directly. So the dome never went to the markets, not in Japan and also not in the US. They had a second super sports car project, the Giotto Caspita. In 1988, Dome established its design studio Giotto Design. Giotto de Bondone was a Florentinian painter and architect in pre-Renaissance time. So I think this is another hint that Dome took their inspiration really from the early wedge cars, so the Lancia Stratos, the Alfa Romeo Carrabo, for example, and not directly saw this as a continuation from the Japanese cars, which came out a little bit earlier, but they directly refer here to Italian design, to Giotto de Bondono. And so this design studio included a quarter-scale wind tunnel and a computer-aided design, CAD, and computer-aided manufacturing. Of course, end of 80s, Japan had been leading. In general, they had been leading the whole car market in the 1980s. And of course, also they had been leading in the usage of computers, robots, etc. So no surprise that Dome also had this CAD and CIM. Then in 89, the company presented the Giotto Caspita, including a V12 engine by Motore Moderno, another Italian connection. Motori Moderno was founded by Carlo Chitti, and he was formerly working at Ferrari. He left the company as they had in the 1960s the big workout where had been this big confrontation with leading companies and Enzo Ferrari, including his wife, leading to the fact that the company separated these employees from Ferrari. Then later he worked, he had for a short time his own company, RTS, then worked for Alfa Romeo, and after this developed engine under the name of Motori Moderno, for example, for Minardi, and this engine had been also destined for Dome and the Giotto Caspita. Later in 1919, Motore Moderni also developed a Formula One boxer engine for Subaru, used for the Italian Coloni C3B team. Unfortunately, not the most successful story, so let's keep it there. So here you see the Giotto Caspita 1989, and this was the big time of or let's say the renaissance of the super sports car. We had the Porsche 959, the Ferrari F40, and then also the Lamborghini Diablo, the Giorgio Moroder. Was it? No, it was not Giorgio Moroder. It was just a Moroder financed by Giorgio Moroder. That's why the Moroder got the name. I think the only one of the supercars with a 16-cylinder engine. And in this time also came out the Giotto Caspita, and it looked quite similar to other super sports cars, for example, as the Commendatore sports car based on Mercedes-Benz, also having the Gullwing doors. So also it reminds me a little bit of the Jaguar super sports car from around this time. So it looks like very similar to the sports cars which we had in the area end of 80s, beginning of 1990s. But our topic today is Formula One, of course. So let's start with Marco Apicella. In 1993, driver Marco Apicella replaced Terry Boutsen for the Italian Grand Prix in Formula One. Then in 94, he joined the Dome Formula 3000 team in Japan, and together they won the Japanese championship. So again, Formula 3000, it's a quite competitive series, and winning this in Japan really showed us the capabilities of the Dome team. In 96, Apicella became chief test driver to test the Dome F105 F1 car alongside Shinji Nakano and Katsumi Yamato. And this happened around 96, April to June at the well-known Japanese Formula One Grand Prix in Suzuka. So a well-planned project the logical step when winning F3000 is to think what to next. And then, at that time, there was no Formula 2, if I'm correct. So after Formula 3000 would come Formula 1. So it is the logical step Dome was preparing here. Here we see him in the Dome F104, F3000 car. Marco Apicella con his Italian helmet design in the Dome. Now let's come to the F105. This was their Formula One project. In 95, former Minardi Formula One team manager Tadaishi Sasaki, so again, connections to Italy here, joined Dome to lead the project developing a F1 car for the next season. And as mentioned, Minardi had been using the engines by Motore Moderni, so we had here, I think, quite some networking. Dome S3000 designer Akiyoshi Oko became responsible for the design, and thanks to Sasaki, Dome was able to acquire gearbox and hydraulic system for the new car. The motor should come from Dome's long-term partner Mugen Honda. Mugen Honda, founded by Honda's founder's son. So again, somehow related to the Honda family, following this philosophy. I think a quite strong plan, which with a little bit more luck would have worked out perfectly. The F105 was launched in Tokyo at the Wakao Art Center March 1896, fitting to present a car, a dream, not at a car expo, but at an art museum, which for me closes the cycle. As I've mentioned, I saw the Lancia Stratos here at the art museum. So interesting event. Since the beginning, and this is no surprise as this is the case practically with all small teams, the Dome struggled to a shortage of funding. Accordingly, plans for testing at various European circuits had to be cancelled. In autumn, Dome announced that it will not enter Formula One in the next year, and test driver Nakano switched to the Prost team as they received Hugen Monda engines for the next year. So Nakano was a little bit part of the Mugen Honda package, and with this switched to Prost, which really would use the engines the next season. Tadashi Sasaki tried to obtain funding for the 98 season. It's a dream, so they hold on to it. He negotiated, for example, with the Nigerian prince Malik Ado Ibrahim, who later invested into the Eros team. Plans for 1990 failed as Honda considered returning as an engine provider for the British American racing team. And BRR, you may remember, started really with a big, bold concept, having strong US sponsors, with Jacques Villeneuve having a former Formula One champion. So they really went in strong into Formula One, winning the championship, even if a new team. And so this was the concept, as you may remember, didn't work quite out, but unfortunately for the smaller teams, as for Dome, this meant another stop, avoiding to come into Formula One. So that's why, unfortunately, it stopped. As I said, we had a great plan, which in many other ways would have worked out perfectly, but the circumstances had been against them. They are still around, strong in other championships. We will see this also later. But so maybe in some of the next years, they find another opportunity to enter Formula One. As said, right at the moment with actual FIA management, I don't see this as, for example, it seems that even for Andretti, the door is closed, but who knows? If you are owner of a PlayStation, there is a game around the Dome Ambition F1 Grand Prix, part of this Japanese game, which was originally published in 96 for PlayStation 1. So it was already a practical, historic game as the originally idea started in 96. So you can see here how you would have entered with Dome into Formula One. And also, of course, you can help constructing this car and finally drive it on your PlayStation. I've promised you to show you some other examples. Here you see the Dome S101, which had been an Le Mans P1 class sports prototype. It was used by the Racing for Holland team, and it won the 2002 and 3 FIA Sports Car Constructors Championship with well-known drivers as Jan Lammers, Val Hillebrand, or John Bosch. So here on the right, you see the car and the winner of the 2002 and 2003 FIA Sports Car Constructors Championship. So nearly 1 decade after the Formula One project, which shows that even if this dream, you may say temporary, did not work out, they not let themselves stop, but pursued other ways. And one of them led them into the Sports Car Championship, which, yes, they won. And that's all for today, folks. As I said, Dome still exists, still going strong from touring car, car styling, prototyping, engineering. They're offering a lot of professional services, and I also would highly recommend you to visit the website domemuseum.com, where you can see the different Dome vehicles from their very first car, the one you see on the left, the Formula 3000, the Formula One projects, sports prototype, all is there. So they really put a lot of passion and a lot of effort in this website. It's highly recommended from my side. But really, that's now the last page. Always to remind you, we are on the different video platforms, YouTube Music, or Spotify. If you're only able to listen to the audio version, we are practically on all platforms. If you like it, please like it, and please follow us. We are really discussing all kind of Formula One topics. If you have any idea for a topic which Gunnar and I should talk about, drivers, engineers, owners, whatever you would like to see discussed, please contact us. You can comment it, for example, also directly under the video. Every idea is welcome. If you like music, check out at Spotify the Data-Driven F1 Mixtape, music songs inspired by drivers and Formula One in general. Okay, that's all for today. Hope to see you next time, maybe together with Gunnar. We will see, and bye-bye.